You're listening to Reignite, a podcast about how we can learn from the past. I'm MJ.
And I am Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
And joining us for Priority Mars is Kevin Luparello of the Lore Party Podcast Network. Thanks for joining us, Kevin.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Really excited to have you on. MJ and I have been really welcomed in the Lore Party Discord and their whole network in general. We've worked with a bunch of other hosts. Other hosts have offered to work with us and slowly weaving them in where we can. I've done a bunch of work with Leo recently, Leo Wiggins, who is also one of the hosts. And so it's just great to slowly collect you guys like action figures as part of the podcast.
We're pop figures. We're Lore Party
Oh,
pop
man,
figures.
imagine. Man, I'd buy that.
Highly
awesome.
coveted.
That'd be cool.
So, Kevin, tell us about the work that you do.
So with Lore Party specifically, I have been on a plethora of episodes, most notably the Mass Effect episodes. I do a lot of the Assassin's Creed stuff, some BioShock, and we have a couple extra ones that are starting to come out here soon. Yeah, it's been a journey. I think we're at a couple years now. We're starting season 7.
Wow.
It's a journey, and I love it. I'm excited.
I didn't
That's
realize
awesome.
it'd been going for that long.
Yeah, we're getting old.
Speaking of Assassin's Creed, personal question. How were your feelings about Odyssey?
So I haven't played it. I actually yeah, I know. So Valhalla is coming out
I know.
later this year, and it actually kind of reignited me to jump back in. I stopped after Odyssey because that was, or not Odyssey.
Origins?
What is it? Unity.
Oh.
Unity is the one that I played it, and I was very disappointed. And then Syndicate came out, and I thought, okay, let's see what this has to offer. And I got bored in about 4 hours, and I just quit Assassin's Creed altogether. And then I saw the trailer for Valhalla, and I thought, all right, it's time to get back. And I bought both Odyssey and Origins. And I'm actually later, after this, I'm going to start Syndicate all over again and binge it this
My
week.
husband really liked Syndicate for whatever that's worth. He played through all of them fairly recently, and he loved Syndicate. I loved watching him play Syndicate because he played as Evie a lot of the time, and she's a badass, and she's my girl. So that was great. But I love Odyssey, so I hope you play, and I can't wait to hear what you think about it.
I tried to get back into it. I jumped ship halfway through 3. I just couldn't get into Assassin's Creed 3, and so I hadn't played any after that. And then MJ kept talking about Odyssey, and so I was like, all right, let me try Origins. Origins is on sale on PSN for like $5, so if I don't like it, no big deal. And like you, I got 4 hours into Origins, if even, and I was like, I'm just not having fun. I'm not enjoying it. So I hear that Odyssey's better, so I may still try that also, but like, I think the ship has sailed on like 100-hour Assassin's Creed games. Like I don't think I have the stamina for it anymore. I'd much rather
That's fair.
replay Mass Effect over and over again.
There you go.
Speaking of, Kevin, can you tell us about your experience with Mass Effect?
Oh boy, what a crazy journey. So I remember, I didn't own weird story for me on Mass Effect is I didn't own an Xbox until my senior year of high school back in 2009. I'm very old. So I bought an Xbox and I saw it in GameStop and I was like, I'm not going to buy that. I wanted to, and I was like, nah, I can't afford it. And I got cut all of a sudden back to college now. It's been like a year, and my buddy had it, and I remember playing the first hour in like this super dark dorm room under a bed in like a cubby, and I was like, damn, this game is cool. That was it. I never touched it again. And I remember seeing the trailer for Mass Effect 3 and being like blown away, and I was like, damn, okay. And my friends were like, you need to get this game. Like, we're all going to get it. And all my friends were talking. It was all my friends could talk about. So it was like I was peer pressured into getting this game. And I decided to get every single one and 2. And I may or may not have gone to class. And I stayed in my dorm room and binged the first one completely.
Wow.
Did not stop. I had all the DLC for both 1 and 2, and I binged everything. And I finished the game like a couple hours before like the release of Mass Effect 3, and then I just left and wouldn't pick that up. But yeah, I mean, it was an amazing journey. I did regrettably look up some stuff in Mass Effect 1 when I was playing it, and my friends were like, one of my friends spoiled me on 2 on the Citadel, or not the Citadel, on the ship, the collector ship, and I was like, oh no. I was like, all right, I'm gonna have to really think strategically here. So if you guys, I could give you my choices if you like.
Yes, we'd love that.
I was a Paragon. However, I tried to make it almost 100% Paragon. However, there were some parts where, like, if somebody said something and I'm like, I don't like you, I'm gonna click that Renegade button. I'm just gonna punch him in the face. But mostly all of my choices were Paragon, almost every single thing, because I'm not a jerk in real life. I mean, sometimes my wife may say, "Hey, you're being a jerk," but I want to help people. I'd rather choose the Paragon. It was like more me and my
You're
choices.
amongst your people here. We're all Paragons here.
Yeah. Plus, I don't like what happens to his face. Like, he gets all like weirdly like
cybernetic,
like a lava he looks like a lava monster. He gets all like, I'm not into it. No, he looks freaky. I'm not here to do that. He's not human anymore. But yeah, so with the, like, for instance, the Rachni Queen, I saved her because when I was thinking about it, for me, I was like, why would I want to kill something that is just trying to survive and is just trying to, get by? Like, sure, like, she had a giant war with, like, half the galaxy, but, like, it wasn't necessarily her fault per se. She just showed up and everybody was like, oh my God, and then she just kind of was a swarm, and she's like the Zerg. I was fine with that. I left her alive because I knew, like, later down the line, I was like, if they keep making these games, like, I chose the same play style, and I got to the Rachni Queen the first time I played it at my buddy's house, and so I thought, I'm gonna save her definitely for future games, if anything. But I when I played my own playthrough, I saved her. The survivor that I chose, though, that's the big one, Caden, but I don't care for him anyway.
All right, fair enough.
I hate Ashley. I hate that character with a passion. She's xenophobic. Like, that's all. Everything she kept saying was, like, anti-alien, so pro-human, and I'm like, yeah, cool, I'm pro-human, but relax, okay? Like, okay, you got Rex saying something, and she's just, like, shutting him down. I'm like, whoa, chill, like, just, let him talk. Like, I wasn't into her character. I thought she was the opposite of what humanity should be like. Okay. The eagerness, I think, is something that we should have. If even in real life, if this was to happen, like, I would want humanity to be eager to belong rather than dominate. Right. That's just who I am. But yeah, I'm surprised I told you guys once before, I'm surprised she didn't join Cerberus. I saved the council, only for political points. I just thought, you know what, if I save their lives, they're gonna think I'm, they're gonna be like, oh well, you saved our lives. Clearly, that really helped me
that
out.
Works out later.
Super sarcasm there. Yeah. And my main guy Rex, totes saved that. I mean, I gotta save that guy. Like, that dude, like, he's bro.
The best.
I love Rex. Rex is great. Yeah, I couldn't part ways. When it came to the Geth specifically, I ended up, I think if I remember correctly, I killed them.
Okay.
I think I killed the heretics, only because of, I didn't want any of them to end up getting rewritten and going to, like, the Reapers. Like, I in my mind, that's what I was thinking. I was trying to think ahead more.
Just eradicate the problem entirely.
Yeah, I was like, no, I can't handle that. Honestly, they're a hive mind. It's not like I'm destroying multiple. Right. I'm destroying one, so I didn't see it
that way. It's a completely different culture. We can't apply our morals and ethics to it, which is difficult for us to do. We had a very long conversation about it.
I had to think outside the box for that, especially when making any decisions that really impacted an entire, like, species on, like, a massive global scale. I had to, like, rethink about that. I got everybody alive at the end of the collector base. I was able to figure it out because I didn't want to look up the options I was like, I'm going to look up the species. So I kind of went through, like, with Morden. I was like, I'm not putting that guy, in a heated vent and, like, go crazy. Like, I remember just going through the whole thing, and I was like, okay, I'm going to save this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. This is how I'm going to do it. And I remember my friend just sitting there being, like, amazed, like, what? And I'm like, yeah, man, like, I'm going to save everybody. And then and I had some friends who were trying to help me, in air quotes, and they were like, are you sure you want to do that? And I'm like, well, yeah, but, and it was one of those things. Because I had friends just sit in my dorm room and just watch me binge it. Like, I had my door open all day, and everybody would just come in and be like, where's he at? Where's he at?
Streaming before streaming.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Did you blow up or preserve the collector base?
Oh, no, I blew that shit up.
Of course. I just want to make sure.
That shit up. There's no way I'm not letting Cerberus get that. No way.
No, of course not.
No way. I thought about, like, the tech could help us, but I'm like, nah, that can indoctrinate you. I don't want to do that. That was the one that I really had to think about, probably the most, because it's like the big end decision and all that. And I'm like, man, what do I want to do? So yeah, I blew that up. Bye-bye.
And then, of course, your romance in Mass Effect 1. Did you have one?
I had the same main girl through 1 and 2. Tali, she is my main girl. Aww. Not only is she brilliant. Oh, boy. I loved the conversations. I liked how she looked at human society specifically. So she would she would talk about other, like, species societies and that kind of stuff, and you would have conversations and stuff like that with almost every character, but I just liked her take on humanity and how she explained her own culture and kind of compared it and that kind of stuff, and I loved it. It was great. I just liked, I'm that conversation guy. Like, as you can probably tell, I've been talking a lot. I just like to sit at, a restaurant or whatever, and just, like, I'm the dude with a cup of water who's just got his fist underneath his jaw, like, yeah, talk to me. Let me just know everything about you. And
nice.
She's great. Love her. Hate the photo of her, but I love her.
So that's fair. So Tali, you can romance in the second one, but you can't romance her in the first one, right? As a male Shep, or can you?
That is correct.
Yeah,
you cannot.
So
I didn't do a romance with her in terms of, like, I just chose no romance for anybody, but specifically made sure to have every single conversation with her in Mass Effect 1 that I could have.
On the playthrough for the podcast, I had no relationship because I wanted Caden. I felt a way about him that I had not in the previous games, saw a side of him. Also more comfortable with my bisexuality now, I think, than I was when I first started playing. And so I just saw different things in him. But because of that, because I leaned into that, you can't, like, I didn't go after Ashley and I didn't go after Liara, so that's no relationship. So I did the same thing, so I get that. Like, wanting to focus in on the one you care about, even just to be friends if you can't have that relationship, and then see what happens later. So
I would flirt once in a while with, like, another character just to hear what they would say, because I'm like, I just want to know what you're going to say.
Sure.
But really, it was every time I had a conversation with her, I was like, damn, why can't I do this? It was semi-frustrating, just a little bit. Yeah.
That's how I feel about Cremisius Aclassi these days.
Fair enough.
So many feelings. All right, so let's get into this summary.
Sure.
Upon landing on Mars, Shepard's team is caught between an oncoming storm and Cerberus soldiers sweeping through the Alliance base. Once inside, Shepard connects with yet another old friend, Liara Tassoni. Liara explains that she used her resources as Shadow Broker to track down information that will give them an edge over the Reapers. Shepard sends Vega away to cover the exits, while Shepard, Liara, and Caden, or Ashley, try to get to the Prothean data before the mysterious Dr. Eva. After a brief holographic confrontation with the biggest asshole in the Milky Way, Dr. Eva runs with the data. She almost gets away in a shuttle, but James Vega, the king of bad ideas, crashes his shuttle into it. Dr. Eva climbs out of the wreckage and assaults one of Shepard's squad on the elusive man's orders. Shepard must then rush off to the Citadel to get medical attention for their friend and meet with the Council.
I remember the first time I played this mission, and, like, we'll go through everything, but that bit at the end where she climbs out of the wreckage and, like, grabs whoever your ally is, I was like, what is happening? Yeah, like, strong Terminator vibes. But to go back to the beginning of the mission, so I had forgotten, because it'd been so long since I played 3, that you go right into this mission from the first mission. Like, there's no break. You can't scour your ship. You can't meet your crew. None of that. And then, as we'll discuss at the end of this mission, you can't either. It's straight to the Citadel. And I'd forgotten that it flowed this way, because the second game flows so differently. The second game is clearly segmented. Like, I see why, MJ, you had trouble breaking out the missions a bit, because it does, for a little while, kind of just go beat for beat for beat, which makes it feel more action-packed than maybe the opening to the first game did.
Yeah, it just flows right into each other. As opposed to in Mass Effect 2, when we finish that introduction, we get an opportunity to move around a little bit, talk to some people, change our armor, whatever, and then we get introduced to our ship, and then we meet the ship. In Mass Effect 3, we've met our ship already. We don't need to be doing this, and there's a war on, so there's really no narrative way for us to have these breaks.
The sense of urgency
missions.
is something that I felt was very, very, I don't want to say in your face, but it was they did a really good job of saying, like, showing you, like, hey, like, Earth just got blown up. Now you just automatically go. Like, it's not a question. Like, you wouldn't, like you said, narratively, you wouldn't just stop what you're doing and let's go do a side quest real quick. We got to go to the moon. Like, no, you're going straight to Mars. Let's go. Like, boom, 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 boom. Let's do it.
Yeah. And, like, the first weapon you find when you land on Mars and you find the Alliance soldiers who had been killed, kind of gruesomely, you pick up the weapon and it lets you change your loadout on the fly. And I had to reload my save twice because I'd forgotten how the loadout system worked. And so, like, I picked weapons that I didn't want. Also, like, playing it on the PC for the first time versus previously playing it on the Xbox, I have more DLC than I had when the game first came out. So, like, there are extra weapons you start with that I had no idea how they worked and were terrible. And so I had to, like, rejigger that a bit. But the first thing I want to say before we talk about anything else is that, and I'm going to get on a soapbox for a minute, if we get this rumored Mass Effect Trilogy remaster that they keep hinting at, they better put the combat system from 3 in everything, because now I'm replaying 1 as my original Xbox Shepherd because I don't have that save file anymore, so I'm redoing it. So I'm playing 1 and 3 at the same time. The combat in 3 as a Vanguard is how this character is designed to be played. I shot my gun maybe 10 times the whole mission, because what I mostly did was biotic charge, biotic slam, melee, dart in, duck out, roll around. This game is designed to make you feel like those classes. You don't just feel like a soldier plus like in the other 2 games. You know, they got to it a little bit in the second game, but this is how the combat is meant to be. I felt like such a badass as a Vanguard because you can just charge in, do a melee attack, charge out. You know, that kind of versatility just hadn't existed before this game. And it was really cool to, like, relive that for this playthrough.
Yeah, the only thing I would think of them not changing combat, because game mechanics, I feel like they're going to be like one of those, well, we're going to try to keep it as close to the original as we possibly can, and then they'll do one of those.
Sure.
I've always wanted them to do a 1, 2, 3, just straight combat, everything from 3, just poured it all in. I think of, like, Master Chief Collection, how, like, you can go back and forth between almost all of them, but the combat in that even doesn't really, it's not that different aside from health packs. But
right.
I think overall, in terms of polishedness, like, 3 by far. 2 had a lot of great stuff in it. Like, 2 had some amazing qualities, but 3 just by far the polished, not just story and all that, but the mechanics, the game mechanics were just spot on perfect.
Yeah. It also is gorgeous to look at.
It's so pretty.
It is.
The graphics are unbelievable in the third one, and I forgot that too, because again, you get used to 1 and 2, I feel like, and MJ, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like 1 and 2 are closer in graphics. I feel like there was a bigger leap between 2 and 3 than from 1 to 2.
Oh, I feel like the leap was between 1 and 2, and 2 and 3 are pretty close together.
Oh, yeah?
I'd have to agree with that.
That's how I feel personally.
I just remember
playing...
I remember playing 1 and binging it, and then starting 2 and being like, whoa, this is a pretty dope upgrade.
I do think that 3 is an even greater improvement upon 2, but 2 was just leagues away from 1, in my opinion.
That's fair. That's true.
Let's see. Speaking of The graphics of the storm really caught me, and I was really distracted just looking at the storm for a long time.
Yeah.
Just the way that the clouds were moving, and it felt like it was so real.
Yeah. The environments feel more enveloping in the third game than any game that came before. Like, even moving through the base, or even the first combat with the Cerberus goons, as they were. Like, the environments just feel more lived in and feel more authentic. Because, you know, we talked about when we played the first game, it was cool, but, like, there are a lot of empty chairs, empty tables, open spaces, like, random boxes for no reason. Whereas this, like, it felt like every vehicle, every crate, and every person was there for a reason.
Does anybody else hear Eddie Redmayne just singing somewhere in the distance? I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Whenever you say it.
I thought it was pretty cool to. This was one of the first times that we actually got to go to a planet in our solar system. And I thought it was pretty cool because we're not that far from Earth in terms of, like, Reaper speed. And we're pretty close. And I thought it was really cool because Mars was where the first mass relay was found. And so just going to that I thought was really cool, to be able to see, like, because the cinematics were great. And you could just see a bunch of parts of Mars. And I thought it was cool to see the footprint on Mars of humanity. I'm one of those people who's obsessed with space travel, always have been. I saw Apollo 13, and I was underneath my mom's cabinets, and I was wearing, like, the steamer on my head with a flashlight, pretending I was in Apollo 13. So I love this stuff. So when I saw just us going to Mars, I was like, yes, it's finally the first planet that we've gone to, like, about time. And it was really cool to see. Like you said, the storm was awesome. Granted, through the scientific actual accuracy, the Mars would not have heavy storms like that, but I had just assumed, like, we started terraforming, that's why. Yeah, whatever. I thought it was cool.
Humans probably ruined it.
Yeah, humanity ruins everything, so, whatever.
Also, the beauty of us visiting Mars is it's something that it feels achievable in our real lives. It's something that can happen, and we really hope will happen within our lifetimes. And just seeing it, it was incredible, and it's very moving as well.
Something in terms of that I noticed after replaying it and even watching other people's, like, kind of playthroughs, because I wanted to see how other people were playing it. I'm telling you, Caden and Ashley they just don't stop with the, are you sure you're not with Cerberus? Are you sure you're not with Cerberus? And I'm like, are you sure you're not with Cerberus? Because that's all you've been talking about. Like, it made me feel like one of those, when I first played it, I kept thinking to myself, okay, are you either an Alliance, like, loyalist, or are you secretly a Cerberus, like, agent? Because you're not shutting up about him. And especially with Ashley, that's why I thought, I'm like, man, she's about to reveal she's the bad guy. She's going to be turning on me, and then she's going to get this doctor at it. Like, that's what was going through my head. But yeah, I thought just Evie's body was really cool. Like, just how it came out of that ship. That was dope.
So as we land on Mars, we discover that Cerberus is also here, and they're executing Alliance soldiers and Alliance scientists and just innocent people left and right. They have gotten really aggressive since Shepard has left them. There was a moment where Ashley asked me, what is Cerberus doing here on Mars? And my first instinct was making my life miserable, obviously.
Yeah. When she asked you that, like, or he, in my case with Caden, it's like their tone is so demeaning, like you must know, right? Because you're still entangled. And, like, I will give James Vega credit in this mission. While he doesn't always have the brightest of ideas and doesn't always think, he does have your back, and also the back of the Alliance. And, like, and every time, like, you are questioned, he's like, well, no, Shepard was under observation 24/7, or, like, I was with Shepard, or the Alliance knows, like trying to stand up for you. And I appreciate that. But yeah, this first combat area is pretty brutal. Like, you see Cerberus in giant, like, armor, and they execute point blank 2 Alliance Marines, and it's really disheartening because it just seems the complete opposite of what you were trying to instill in Cerberus while you were there.
When you go, do you remember when you go? There's a specific room that you go into that Liara takes you to, and you're just basically there to like collect some more data on the Protheans and the mass relays and all that stuff. And I think it was James who said, "What's that smell?" He's like, "What the heck is that smell?" And Liara's like, "The decontamination like process for the room." And then
it's either Caden or Ashley who says that because James is gone by then.
That's right. James bounces. He becomes the lookout man. But yeah, so he you find out that they turned on the decontamination process while like everybody was in the room, and so it just fried everybody.
They're just being extra shitty.
So like they literally fry everybody alive. Like that's and I don't even think it's like a normal like, oh no, the like it's not like the room was on fire or anything like that. Like they basically melted and they just disintegrated everybody alive.
Yeah. No, it's clear through this whole mission that they're more brutal now than they've ever been before.
And we will find out why that is. But before we jump too far ahead, scrolling back just a little bit, I noticed that there's a lot more squad banter happening in this game. Like, in 2, we got some, but like James and Ashley, in my case, are like having a whole conversation as we're walking. And I'm like, this is new. This is interesting.
Yeah, it's nice to see how the characters open up. And like I've said this before about James, while he's not ideally one of my favorite characters in the game, I do enjoy Freddie Prinze Jr.'s performance. Like it's no secret at this point now, especially that he's a giant sci-fi nerd, but like he's playing this kind of meat-headed Marine really well, you know? And the conversations are kind of just a little goofy sometimes because he is absolutely just a forward-looking soldier and doesn't really like we're gonna get to when we first meet Liara, but even those moments, like he's just kind of goofy, and I appreciate it.
I love space Freddie Prinze Jr. as much as I love fantasy Freddie Prinze Jr.
Fair enough.
They're basically the same characters, just one is much more kinky than the other.
That is true. That is definitely true.
I'm sorry, I just finished my romance with Iron Bull. I really like the updates to the armors. Like, Ashley had this little bird emblem on her armor that I thought was really unique and really interesting. I'm not sure if it's a denotation of her lieutenant commander status or if it's something that's unique to her, like a crest or something like that.
Right.
I was wondering, did Caden have anything like that? Any of those personal touches?
Not that I noticed, but I might not have been paying close enough attention. It's possible. I do like that there seems to be a lot more detail on the armor too. Like even James's armor is bigger because he's a bigger guy. It's like this cool kind of metallic gray that you haven't really seen any of the armors look like before. But yeah, there's definitely a lot more attention to detail, not just with the combat like I was raving about before, but with the graphics, the sound design. Like I'm playing with headphones, which you both can see, but the audience can't. And the headphones that I have is a gaming headset that has surround sound. I'm hearing details in this game that I didn't hear in my first playthrough because I didn't play on my Xbox with headphones. I had no reason to, but now because I'm quarantining or sheltering at home with a spouse who is working most of the day, like I have to use headphones, and they really like to the nines the whole game, and you really get a sense of it. Like you got a sense of it in the last mission a little bit, but we didn't get to do that much. Here is when you really get to dig in this early part of the mission with the Cerberus
guns
agents.
themselves too, all the weapons, the sound design for the weapons I thought was oh man, you feel the weight of the weapon. You feel how the weapons actually genuinely, like, I feel like would feel or in sound, because the sound design alone completely changed how that game was played for me. Like I remember the sound design in 1, and I'm like, okay, not bad. A lot of cool like synthwavey stuff, and it's not bad. This one, it was like sound effects everywhere. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, you got your squad bantering, which was great. Humanizes. I use that term loosely with these aliens, but humanizes in the cinematic sense all these characters, and then you hear the conversations of like Cerberus, like the Cerberus agents having these crazy conversations. I didn't fire at them. I just sat there. I'm like, what are they talking about? I don't want to listen to these guys. What are they saying? Oh, okay, cool. Like that really made it so where in games now, like I don't do that. I don't attack right away. Like I want to hear what they have to say. Like what's going on? What's going on through these characters' minds?
I'm the same way. If I hear someone's talking, I'm like, I'm going to hide here and I'm going to wait. And when you say something interesting, then I'm going to log that away because I'm nosy. I would like the next Die Hard movie to feature Liara to Sony.
Yes, please. Yeah, I when we first get to this scene, I remember the first time playing through and she's like crawling through the vents. I was disheartened at first because I'm like, oh, is she running? What the hell? Like, why is she crawling through vents? This seems like very damsel in distressy. And then, of course, she kicks the vent open, drops down, and like destroys them. Like the cinematography of her throwing up the wormhole, them like flying away, and one guy's like holding on to the vents, and then she just pop, and they fall to the ground. It's just like, mwah. Chef's kiss.
Yeah.
It was badass.
It's so very good. And I also feel like that scene does a lot to really emphasize to the player, like, hey, if you didn't do Shadow Broker, maybe you don't know, but Liara is a badass now.
Yeah, exactly. And also, it's really funny that, like, you know, James has no idea who this person is. James has never met her before. So, like, as you approach, he's got gun up, and Shepard's like, no. She's with us. You're fine. As if James could take Liara. Like, there's no chance in hell.
No.
Not even close.
There's a scene later that you never saw because you didn't play Citadel, and I can't wait for it to happen.
All right. Well, we'll talk about it when we get to it.
I'm just, there's so many moments I can't wait for you to experience. So I had a very awkward meeting with Liara because Mass Effect 1 kind of cornered me into this relationship with her that I didn't want and didn't consent to. So now every time I see her, there has to be awkward hand-holding. And I'm like, why?
I know. Like, and like, that's a mechanical problem, right? Because you didn't really pursue a relationship, and yet the choices you made to be nice, the game interpreted it that way. I always make sure with Liara, because there's a chance you can pursue a relationship with Liara cold in the Shadow Broker stuff too. You can kind of like flirt with her, and I avoided that like the plague because I was not interested. And then, so this time, I made sure every time I could give a snarky renegade answer, not a mean one, but like a snarky one, or like a jaded one, I did, because I wasn't taking any chances.
I did too, but also because the Paragon choices for talking to Liara felt like too misleading. And in our last interaction in Shadow Broker, I definitely like made it clear to her, like, I'm with Garrus now. Yeah. This is the choice that I have made. I appreciate you and I value you and you're my friend, but I'm with Garrus and that's it. And I feel like Mass Effect 3 is going to put me in an awkward position where I have to be like, okay, but I have told you already.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Please don't make me break up with you again.
I had a relationship with Jack in the second game. I got very close to Jack. I really liked Jack as a character and discovered stuff about Jack in our playthrough for the podcast that I hadn't known before. I am not looking forward to continuing to flirt with Kaidan or honoring my relationship with Jack. Like, I have no idea how that's going to play out. Because also, I've never pursued a relationship with Jack before in any of my other playthroughs. So, yeah, I'm not even crossing that bridge yet. But going back to the story, this is where we get an exposition dump a little bit, like a MacGuffin alert, if you will. You know, why is Liara here? She's researching something that may help us destroy the Reapers. It's a giant device that we know nothing about that might magically kill the Reapers. I think it's cool, though, just the way the story moves through here. The dialogue feels very cinematic. It had felt that in the previous games, but like going from line to line and the moment to moment, it really does feel like a movie here. Like, it's very easy to get lost in the dialogue here because it just feels even more natural than the last game. And 2 was, of course, more natural than the first game. The first game was pretty stilted, but still impressive for the time. But like this one, like the timing, the sound design, all of it is to a T is done really well. And so it feels more like a movie than it ever had before in the trilogy.
I remember in my first playthrough, I found myself not wanting to run ahead of characters or anything like that because I wanted to hear what they had to say. I was like, oh man, if I'm too far away, they're talking and I can't really hear it. So I would just stick with them. Like it made me stay with my crew more, if that makes sense. Like I wanted to hear everything. I wanted to know what was going in their heads because I didn't really, like you said, I never really experienced that in 1 and kind of 2, not really. So like I really wanted to know, whoa. These are conversations, and I won't say anything about Andromeda because I still haven't beaten it. But they really upped that game in there. A lot of conversations in that one. But I loved this mission made me get excited for having squad mates and like the different conversations and the different combinations of stuff that I could have and like, ooh, if this person talks to like having like a specific frozen character with Liara is one of my favorite things to ever. That and Tali, like those. Oh, it's so cool. I love it.
What I like about the squad party banter is that you use the word humanizing before. It makes them feel like people that exist outside of Shepard, and that's really important because if you're trying to build a game that's so immersive, these characters need to be more than just props for Shepard's journey.
Yeah.
And by including that party banter, they are more than just props. They're people with their own relationships outside of you.
Yeah, for sure. And I like how in this conversation that we have here before we get to the next action part is James assumes that he's along for the ride and that like Caden or Liara will get sent back to the ship. But nope. He's like, Vega, you got to go. And he's like, what? Because he's probably used to being the biggest and most powerful guy in the room. And he's just so like dejected.
See, I saw it as James Vega doesn't know the secret rule that there can only be 3. And he thought the 4 of you were just going to go.
Right, exactly. I mean, that's part of it, I'm sure.
There's 4 in Dragon Age. Why shouldn't there be 4 here? See, Space Freddy Prinze Jr. just got confused.
He did.
Technically, everybody outranks him in that room. So,
that's true.
Even though Liara is not Alliance, but technically, he needs to just.
Yeah, if she's the Shadow Broker, she ain't ranks a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
She can do whatever she wants.
It's true.
Non-official Spectre status.
Exactly.
Well, James goes away like a kicked puppy.
Yes.
I did not take a lot of notes during the actual fighting because it was just so smooth that I didn't really have a lot of things to say about it. I have also been using my powers a lot more because I only ever use a pistol, so my cooldown times are twice as fast.
Yep. Yeah. I use a submachine gun and a shotgun because I'm biotically charging into the faces of people. I need a shotgun. I need a good shotgun at my side. But yeah, the combat moves super smooth and I have zero complaints. I complained a lot in 1 and a little bit in 2, but I was just having fun. I'd forgotten how much fun the combat is here, and even the scene. So MJ and I talked with Jeff, our guest in the last episode, about how that first stage on Earth is the tutorial, but it's only half the tutorial because this mission teaches you how to dive, how to hide behind cover, to roll, and the combat moves so fluidly. And typically, a training like this is boring on multiple playthroughs, but even the section with the giant gun that you have to avoid.
Oh god, I hate that gun.
Mm-hmm.
But it felt fun because even though it was a tutorial, it moves so smoothly that I never went, ugh, they're teaching me again. Because they don't explain to you. They teach you by doing. Liara yells something about diving behind cover, and then things appear on screen to show you what to do. It's way smoother than any other game.
Well, these are the first enemies that actually... Earth, you don't really get it. Earth is more of a melee kind of situation, if anything.
Yeah.
Because you run out of ammo, and then it's like, hey, real quick, start punching. This was the first time, really, that enemies they're firing back at you. They're really firing back at you. Yeah, and some of them are the first armored units that you really see. That you definitely will be seeing a lot more of. It's nice to kind of, because they throw a lot at you in this quote tutorial firefight. They throw a lot at you, and so memorizing here's what I'm gonna expect throughout this game, at least in the early stages. It was a lot, But like
Yeah.
you said, I was having fun. I was like, awesome, cool. I just took down this guy. This is awesome. Whoa, look at that. Like, it was very, like, exciting, but like a little kid. Like, I was so pumped. I was like, this is awesome.
So we learn that there is a mystery woman moving through the Alliance base who is responsible for many of the deaths. We find out her name is Dr. Eva Corey. And I spent a minute, not longer than that, just thinking, is that an anagram for something? It just sounds like it is. It sounds like a fake name.
It does sound fishy. Also, like, she seems fishy from the moment you see her. And then, of course, the video, like, you see the surveillance where she just cold-bloodedly kills the 2 Alliance guys. And it's just like, oh, shit. It's really interesting during this part of the story, once we find out about Dr. Eva and her plans. Liara, who's usually pretty much a go-getter and, like, supercharged to do whatever, seems pretty disheartened the whole time. And, like, every conversation you have with her in the base, it's like, what are we going to do? And you can either, like, boost her up and give her hope, or be like, I don't know, we just keep fighting until we or they die. And it's just really interesting because up until this point, even with her hardened edges as the Shadow Broker, she still was pretty hopeful and optimistic to a degree. And with the Reapers, it's the first time you really see her not like
she
that.
knew there was something odd about her. Like, Liara's like, there's something off about this woman. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's really weird. She says she had suspicions, but because of the work, and she knew the work was so important, she was like, I just had to. I had to keep going. I had to go along with it, which I thought was very interesting for her, even like you said, as the Shadow Broker. I thought that was very odd, because I thought, well, don't you know everything about this woman? Don't you know everything about her? Shouldn't you at least know about everything about the people you're working with? Or are you trying to do some, like, is that like some sort of respect thing you have with the people you work with? But if you have a suspicion, wouldn't you look her up? Like, there was so many, like, my mind was racing on this. And I just thought it was interesting that Liara was like, I don't care. I'm just going to do my own thing. It doesn't matter. I need the help.
Yeah. Liara definitely blames herself for not following up on Dr. Eva and verifying she was who she said she was. But also, Cerberus has unlimited resources. They could have built her a profile. They could have built her an entire life that Liara wouldn't have any reason to doubt. Also, no apology from Ashley, or I'm guessing Caden, when they find out that Eva's the one that's behind Cerberus getting in.
Nothing. No. And what's really annoying is by, like, the 4th time that they call you on it is when you go to look for a comm and discover that the Cerberus operatives have been infected to some degree, and they look husk-like, even though they're not quite husks. Like, he's still, or she, is still questioning your loyalty and assuming you're working for Cerberus. Is that what they did to you? And, like, at that point, yeah, and it's like Shepard at that point has just got to be like, come on, we got to get in there. Like, let's go. And, like, my Shepard at least tried to play it off as kind of, like, tongue-in-cheek, like, oh, you're always paranoid, you know. Let's just keep moving. But,
you're so, like, generous. My Shepard was like, I don't have fucking time for this.
Yeah.
Follow me or don't. I don't care.
Yeah, I took the Paragon option, which just kind of plays it into a joke. But yeah, like, it's sad that but you have to understand from the other side, like, they felt completely betrayed. And so, like, to warm them up is really hard. So it's really interesting. It kind of feels nonstop, this kind of, like, judgment until it's like story, judgment, combat, more judgment, more combat, more judgment. Like, they don't let up pretty much until the end of the mission when they get hurt.
I personally felt betrayed by the Alliance in the beginning of the first game. And I wasn't, like, all gung-ho for Cerberus or anything like that, but I just felt really betrayed by them because I put out my distress beacon, nobody's really answering it, I'm busting my butt here to try to survive, and then my ship blows up, and there's nothing. Yeah, okay, cool, you had a funeral for me, great. But you didn't even try to, like, find out what truly happened. Like, they didn't... I just felt like the Alliance was like, oh, damn, we lost a Spectre. Oh, well. Like, that was it. And so, when Caden and Ashley, when the whole, like, human alliance finds out about you, they're automatically almost distrustworthy of you. And I'm like, why? What did I do to you? I didn't even do anything. I died. I didn't do anything to you. All I did was get brought back to life. Thanks, guys.
Entire mood. Like, I did not ask to be brought back to life. I have been put in an impossible situation. What am I supposed to do? Just walk away?
And just the comments, like I said earlier, the comments over, like, is this you? Is this what they did to you? Are you part of Cerberus? And I'm like, oh, dude, drop it. Like, how many times are you going to, like, I'm in charge right now. How many times are you going to, like, disobey me or say something stupid? Like, where's your military, like, tactfulness of, like, respect and all that? Like, just shush. Like, I always think of, like, Dr. Evil because of, Joker. I hear his voice, and I'm like, Dr. Evil, man.
Yeah.
Shush. Like, that's how I kept thinking, because really, I'm like, can we just get the mission done with, please?
I found that I was taking a lot of renegade options because of that mood of, like, I was left hanging out to dry, and nobody was there to support me except for people who weren't Alliance. Like, Garrison Talley never questioned me for even a second, and you wonder why... Like, I don't want to be here with you.
Yeah, that's totally true. And, like, even here, like, even in the start of this, like, we talked about it in the last mission, we were on trial for a decision we had to make on our own with no one's help for a war crime that we couldn't have possibly done anything about. It's just Shepard's always in these impossible situations, and they expect him to be him or her or they to be a god, and the reality is they're just a person like anybody else, and they make mistakes like anybody else.
And I think Mass Effect 3 does a better job of reminding us that Shepard is human.
Yes, you get to see Shepard have problems, not necessarily in this mission but throughout the game.
I liked that, like, for instance, like with Hackett and stuff, when he's like, I need you to go here, I need you to go to Mars first. You can't go, XYZ. I need you to go to Mars first, or I need you to do this. Can't go to the Citadel. It was characters like that right off the bat that I knew this game was going to be different in terms of how specific people viewed him, especially now that the Reapers have shown up. Because throughout 1 and 2, everybody's questioning him. Everybody's like, well, I don't know about that, man. Oh, well, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done that. You got to do this. And I kept thinking to myself throughout the whole game, like, I'm the Spectre here. Or I'm, like, the resurrected person here. Like, I'm dead. Like, I'm a Walking Dead guy. Like,
I'm Space Jesus.
It just kept making me think, like, if you think you can do it, why don't you go do it? Because you trusted me in the first game to become the first Spectre. You trusted me to, or at least you thought you did, to let me make these decisions and to let me be this, this soldier. Like, you're so high up in terms of, like, what you're allowed to do as a Spectre, and then, of course, like, Cerberus is like, here you go. They trust him. They're like, yeah, do you, Shepard? Like, okay, like, that was the first time a human was really like, all right, yeah, okay, I'll take it. And so I don't like Cerberus. Don't think I'm going on. I'm not about that life. But it was just something to where I noticed now there's the Alliance people that are left over, at least, that are like, okay, make the decision. We're behind you. And I thought, oh, finally. There we go. It only took 3 games.
So there's this moment between Liara and Shepard where either Ashley or Kaidan say that they're going to go check for a radio or something. And it's the moment where we find out about what Cerberus has been doing to their soldiers. And Liara says to my Shepard, the lieutenant has become very capable. And just the tone of her voice, there was so much salt in it. I was just like, I know what my problem is. What's your problem?
No, yeah, she... to my Shepard, it was the same thing. I think that's what Liara says to everyone. But it felt more flirty to me. But again, I could just be reading into it because I have a thing for Kaidan. But it felt very much like, oh, yeah, he's become very capable, huh?
To me, it felt like I don't know, like she was skeptical of Ashley.
I mean, also remember, like, based on, like, stuff that's filled in Shadowbroker, she made sure that Cerberus got your body. Liara went above and beyond for you as a friend, beyond whether you're in a relationship or not. And so I think Liara is probably way more protective of you, whether you pursued a relationship or not, because of the lengths she went to secure your fate, make sure you came back, and even help you after that.
I want to call attention to these 2 sentences that I have written in my notes. The first one is, yes, Protheans. And then the second one is, and then there's this asshole.
Yeah, those are good lines. I also like that I made a mistake, and I won't go back and I won't change it. I was in my nice mode, but when the elusive man finally shows up and you have your chat with him, with this asshole, I played the high road in my conversation with him, and I absolutely regret it because I don't feel that way.
Oh, I definitely was a renegade. I was so a renegade. It was so, you go fuck yourself. I hate you. You're the worst.
Martin Sheen is incredible playing this character. He does such a good job. And what's interesting about this conversation with the elusive man is something feels different. Even though he's always been a manipulative jackass, like, you can tell something's up, something's different. He, like his soldiers, have changed. And it's scary. Not to Shepard necessarily, but like, it is clear that if humanity goes the wrong way, like the elusive man is kind of the poster boy for that. And you really get a sense of it in this conversation with him. He does sound so mad, though, when you bring up the collector base. And he's like, yeah, you decided to blow it up. He sounds so salty. And I was like...
Yeah, he calls you, like, short-sighted. And I'm just like... He also, at one point, says the odds aren't in your favor. Okay, Effie Trinket. Go back to the Capitol.
Yeah. Like, also, who have you been paying attention to? The odds aren't in my favor? I've stopped everything so far.
God, I hate
Not you.
The only thing that made me think about that line was, the odds aren't in your favor was, Earth is being destroyed, so, yeah, maybe you're right. But I still was like, the only thing I kept thinking about was when he came up was he cares so much about humanity, he's going to do everything he can to protect it. But then I kept thinking to myself, like, where's Cerberus at right now? You're not on Earth. Where are you at?
At his mystery base.
And like, what's worse is, like, I think the reason I took the nice action is because the nice action is like, why are we fighting? We need to do everything we can. And so I think ultimately I've come back around on it in this conversation. Like, I think I'm glad I took that option because my Shepard would say, look, I hate you, but you have resources. We should be saving Earth, not fighting against each other, which is exactly what my Shepard said. And of course the elusive man just like, denies your usefulness exists anymore as he preps to kill you and everyone else that you work with, essentially, at this point.
My capacity for bullshit has been reached. I am done. He can go fuck himself.
That is legit. And after this conversation, we, of course, our poor Caden or Ashley, off on their own, snooping around, finds exactly what's going on and gets their butt whooped by this scientist, who we think is just a scientist. Like, this is a professionally trained, high-ranking Alliance official, gets the drop on this person, and, like, I guess assumes they're not going to combat them. But we also saw this woman shoot soldiers in cold blood. So, like, but they get kicked in the chest, and they're just on the ground and taken off. I mean, they get up pretty quick, but it was pretty funny to me that this highly trained Alliance soldier just gets taken out.
Matt, would you say they get knocked down, but they get up again?
Yes, because you're never going to keep them down. Yes, I would say that. And then we get this chase scene. And I will say this about the running in this game.
Oh, it's so chaotic.
It's so chaotic, but it feels smoother than the running in either of the first two
That is the
games.
complete opposite of It is better. Like, the running is better. You can run for longer. There is no, like, fitness meter. That's all very, very true. But while I'm trying to run, I'm trying to keep my Shepard on a relatively straight course, but she keeps going wide. I'm like, where are you going?
That's fair. But I do like how this segment shows off, like, the jumping over cover and running up the ladders and stuff. It is definitely more chaotic than anything else, but it controls a little tighter. Like, like I said, I'm replaying the first game right now on a separate path, nothing to do with the podcast. And, like, the running in the first game makes me nauseous. The way the camera kind of flies, like, it just, and it never did before. So I don't know why it is now, but it is. So I don't run that much. But here, like, there's definitely more tightness to it. But that said, MJ, I can see why you would feel the way you do. This whole running segment is really chaotic, especially like the first time she darts into like a cubby and then you open the door and she jumps out the roof and then you have to run back, like press a button and run back out and run around.
She was like,
what's happening
like
here?
Like, I thought at that time, the first time I played it, I was like, is she cybernetically enhanced like me? Is she going to be like the nega me? Like, is it gonna be like, like nigga Shepard? Like, that's how I kept thinking about it. I was like, oh man, this is gonna be cool. I'm gonna have like a counterpart, and like, yeah. And then it kind of flipped on my head with that one.
By the time we catch up with her, she does get to her shuttle before we can reach her. And James, bless his himbo heart, thinks, I got it.
He's such a himbo. Yes, but what's really interesting right before that moment is we get for the first time, I think, since the start of this game and the beginnings of the more emotional Shepard, is like Shepard runs, the shuttle is taking off, and Shepard goes, Normandy, James, anyone, like he, because it's my Shepard, sounded so distressed and disheartened, like, oh my God, am I going to fail? Is this it? Is she going to get away? And then, of course, like a cowboy, James comes screeching in with his shuttle, taking out this other shuttle.
James definitely wishes he was a cowboy. He definitely watches vids about cowboys, and he's just like, yes. Old Town Road is his favorite song.
Hey, I like Old Town Road. That's a good song.
That wasn't a criticism. This is a cold, hard fact about James Vega.
I mean, it has to exist.
It's on his dating profile.
But like that, what's really cool about that moment, though, is how chaotic it is, right? Like, Shepard's clearly lost control at this point. There's nothing Shepard can do. And like James crashing, everything blowing up, Liara helping, or Caden / Ashley helping Liara up. Like, all of this is just kind of instant chaos. And they give you a couple of beats to think it's over, and then Cyberwoman rises from the flames like a phoenix from the ashes.
Shitty phoenix.
Remember seeing the visor on her face and being like, wait, were you wearing that before? Where'd that come from? Because I just kept thinking to myself, okay, well, like, okay, if you're living tissue of a human exoskeleton, like, or endoskeleton, like, what, I was like, that stuff is, what's this visor? What is this? I thought it was really weird.
Yeah, what is this thing? But what is really interesting also about the violence in this game is like killing the soldiers at the beginning of the mission point blank, the execution style shooting in the video, like it's showing that also the circumstances are more extreme in the game. Like everything is higher risk, and like that scene where this robot slams either Ash or Caden into that ship and is holding them by the helmet, like it's brutal to watch. Even having seen it so many times, and you can tell that this is going to be the most emotional of any of the rides, and the previous ones are emotional enough, but like clearly they're not pulling their punches in this. And it, again, the cinematography, like it looks like an action movie, and it's brutal to watch that happen. And then this kind of like movie scene where then the robot's running at you and you have to shoot it and then take it out. It's really well done, even though it's slightly horrifying too.
I don't know if we've seen any violence as brutal as Dr. Eva smashing our squad mate against the ship.
Definitely not.
Yeah. Like every other brutal scene has been from a distance or like you killing folks with biotics, but like clearly the bad guys, and like there's no... Like there's a separation or a distance or a desensitization. And like I think the opening moments of this game, both on Earth and here, are to remind us there's real stakes this time.
Most of the time we hear like audio logs or an audio like radio transmission of something very brutal. Like in the first Mass Effect game, like going to Eden Prime, like you hear like, oh God, like you hear like the brutality of it and you're like, damn, okay, this is going to be crazy. And this one, You're the guy standing there like, oh my God, he's gonna kill him! Like you're that guy. So I always thought that was really cool because that's how I knew the game was gonna be different than the other two, because it felt more adult, if that makes sense. Like it felt like a grown up Mass Effect, and I was excited for that. Mm-hmm. And it was the foreshadowing of the enemy running towards you very slowly and you having to shoot that enemy, take them down. Yeah. I didn't realize it until I did another playthrough. I was like, oh, I've done this before. Well, I will do this again. Yeah. I thought the whole mission was a perfect setup for almost everything in the game. Like it was brilliant.
Yeah. It was so very good. And then you have to roll right into the next thing. Like, there's no pause. There's no time to take a breath because you have to get your squad mate medical attention. Like, you have to get them onto the Normandy. You have to talk to Hackett now. But that feels so unimportant because my friend is dying. Like, no matter what happened between us, this is a person that I've been through a lot with, and I'm not cool with them dying right now.
Well, yeah, and there's like a really human moment when you get back onto the ship where when you put Kate and Ashley down, and like you're just looking at them, and Liara goes, Shepard, we have to get the medical attention. We have to get them to the Citadel, or they will die. You never up until that point, any other casualty or violence or harm Shepard rolls with. This is kind of the first time that you're like it's the closest to home, and it's the first time you really see Shepard flinch.
Yeah.
In all the games. And it's important.
I agree. It's one of those human moments. Like, we have to remember that Shepard is a person.
Yeah. The games sometimes forget that in the previous ones, but for sure in the third game they do not.
They feel very robotic in the first game, especially. The second game a little bit more, especially depending on the ending that you choose, or I guess we'll say choose. The ending that you end up choosing depending on how many people survive. And so it's nice to actually see some emotion, if that makes any sense. Like, you really... They do, and I think they use that cinematic style. It plays very well with conveying that. I felt like it was that's like the beginning of this game throws you in real fast, real hard. It gets you, we get the ball rolling right off the bat, and it feels, I don't want to say real, but it does. I mean, it just feels more alive.
We have to have this conversation with Hackett, and I had this moment. We tell Hackett that Cerberus wound up being there, and he goes, yes, I thought that might happen.
Thanks, bro. Thanks for telling me.
Were you going to tell me?
Yeah. That's nice.
Like, I really love Hackett because in most of the first game, and for sure in the second game, like, he goes to bat for you, especially... in the Arrival DLC, like, he goes to bat for you. He believes in you, even when you've made terrible or hard decisions. But then he does stuff like this, and it shows the Alliance manipulation, like you were talking about before. Like, you knew that, but you didn't tell me. You just sent me to Mars. Where's the info, bro? This wouldn't happen if it were Captain Dadderson.
Admiral Dadderson.
Admiral. I forget that he's been promoted.
Oh, yeah, and he also asks us what we've learned, and I'm like, it has been 5 minutes. My friend is dying.
I will debrief you later. Like, why? How are you asking me now? Like, come on.
Somehow, Liara has learned something, though, which we'll get to. He also says, I'm sure the council will see the need to help. Yeah, okay.
Okay, did you interact with the same council I did? That never helps ever? Because that's what we're going to be dealing with. But yeah, then Liara comes in and more exposition dump, reminds you, hey, this giant thing, it might be a weapon. We should build it and destroy the Reapers, essentially.
Yeah. Very convenient and helpful that the Protheans prepared something like that
so
for us.
Deus Ex Machina.
Yes, it's not a MacGuffin at all. Like, I get it from a writing standpoint, but yes, at this point, especially in the story, it's very Deus Ex Machina. Like, you need a thing? Here's a thing. How about that? This works out for everybody.
When we get to the Citadel, we are met by Commander Bailey. Everybody's getting promotions
everybody's
left
dying.
and right. And yet...
Except
That's
us,
just
we're
because
still
everybody's
Commander.
dying.
Bailey's sporting some darker hair now. He must be dyeing it. Probably afraid of the grays.
I think his hair color was the same.
No, it was like a lighter kind of blondish brown in the second game.
Okay, whatever you say.
I remember. Look, if I remember one thing, it's Bailey's hair.
Oh, okay. That's the thing that you choose to remember. Not that the Hanar are definitely not a hive mind, but...
All right. Am I ever going to live that down?
You're not. The last note that I have here is that why are our uniforms exactly the same? CSEC and Alliance. And then that's it, because it just moves right into the next thing. Technically, this next part is going to be our chance to kind of have a breather and do some exploring, but
Yeah, they don't like. You can choose. Bailey gives you the option before you save to either choose to go directly to the council or go see Caden/Ashley.
Yeah.
And so I chose go see Caden/Ashley.
Yeah, I did too. I'm not a monster.
I needed to make sure I
need
did
a
everything
minute,
in this
guys.
game, though. Like, I was like, I'm going to do it all. I'm going to completionist the entire thing. It was so good.
Yeah. And that's it for this section.
That's a wrap on Priority Mars. Shall we move our way to the fandom corner, MJ?
Yes. Unless anybody else has any notes, thoughts.
No, I think I said everything.
Okay. So, fandom corner. You may remember a while back I told you about some Mass Effect inspired perfume by Fresh and Geeky.
Yes.
I actually have acquired their Archangel perfume, and I love it. It's fantastic. Highly recommend. Fresh and Geeky now makes Metagel liquid hand sanitizer.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
It's very good. It's $3.95. It's a small bottle. They also make sure that you know that masks and hand sanitizer sold on Etsy aren't medical grade. It's just like a cute thing. The scent of it is Paragon for Her, which is another perfume that they have. It says, this hand sanitizer has lovely aquatic notes with white floral musk and sandalwood that all blend together to create a fragrance that will remind you of the soft, clean scent of rain during a sun shower.
How elegant a description.
Yeah, it was.
It is CDC compliant and meets WHO guidelines.
So if you're looking for some Metagel to get you through these very difficult times, head over to Fresh and Geeky's Etsy shop. Also maybe pick up some perfume while you're there if you'd like to smell very good. I do love my Archangel perfume. And I did also want to bring one other thing because the Metagel was a very quick thing. I found a pattern designer on Ravelry. Their name is Allison Moeller, Mohler, and they make Mass Effect inspired amigurumi. So if you want to make your own little Liara, you can make your own little Liara doll. And all the patterns are free.
These are adorable.
That is very cute. I want Legion. Like,
Well, if you buy me some yarn,
These are
I will
so
make
cute.
you a tiny crocheted Legion.
we'll have a chat. But yes. The short answer is yes.
But yeah, if you're a crafter, we talked last time about making the Paragon Renegade scarf, but if you like crocheting and you want to get into amigurumi, I've done it. It's fairly easy to get into as long as you have a good pattern to work from. These look doable, especially the Liara and Samara ones. The Legion one looks a little complicated, but if you're up for a challenge, go for it. So that's Allison Moeller on Ravelry. We'll include links in our show notes.
Yep. As always, in the description, we will have links to all of this cool stuff so you can find it. And
Or buy it for
yourself.
me.
Or buy it for my co-host, who will never not shamelessly shill.
I really should stop, though, because Case listens, and then Case is like, here's $20 for that thing you wanted. And then I feel bad.
It's very sweet.
I'm like, I didn't mean it. I was 90% joking.
But so that's it for this episode. We're going to start our wrap up. Firstly, obviously, if you couldn't tell by the end of our summary, the next episode will be Priority the Citadel. We'll get to explore an open area for the first time, check in on things on the Citadel, and of course, check in on our hospitalized squad mate. Now is the portion of the show where, Kevin, first we thank you for being on the show. This has been great to have you on. Please tell the folks on the internet where they can find you online and the kind of stuff that you're doing.
So you can find me specifically mostly on Twitter. It's at @in_the_LUPE. That's a pun on my name, In the Loop. But mostly you can find me on Lore Party, which is the network that I'm a part of. We have we focus on stories with video games and a couple other pieces of culture, if you will. We have about 4 shows on our network. Right now, we have Lore Party, the main network, which we talk about video games and the plethora of characters and universes and storylines. We also have Minigame, which is kind of like a bite-sized version of that. We have Winds Howling, which also is a companion podcast to the Witcher Netflix series. And we just released Gom Jabbar, which is about the Dune series, which will be also companioning the show and movie that are going to be coming out. So you can find us at lore_party on Instagram, Twitter, any social media, really. And we look forward to hearing from everybody.
All right, awesome. If you like what you heard here, follow us on social media. We're at ReignitePod on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram, facebook.com/reignitepod, or you can send us an email at reignitepod@gmail.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcatcher. It helps us get seen so other people can find us.
We're also members of the Certain POV network, Certain Point of View. You can visit certainpov.com for this and a ton of other nerdy podcasts, each with a unique point of view. You can also find a permanent invite link to our Discord server. We chat about this show and other shows. Currently, I'm posting screenshots from our current Mass Effect playthrough for the third game, as well as my replay of the first game. I streamed some of playing the first game the other day. You can find all of that. Again, just go to certainpov.com.
Matt and I work on some other projects. You can also find me on Circle of Friendship, a podcast about the Circle of Magic books by Tamara Pierce, where we discuss friendship, magic, and, of course, Briar Moss. You can also hear me on the Rob Thomas No Not That One Robcast, where we discuss the works of Rob Thomas. I know what you're thinking. It's not that one.
I also have a bunch of podcasts on and off the network. I do Screen Snark with Rachel Quirky Shank. I do Fun and Games with Jeff Moonen. And then, of course, the show you are currently listening to. And I do Crash Chords Autographs, which is an interview series. I am the producer of a small series within the Fun and Games feed called Side Quests, where I have different hosts talk about their favorite game and why they love it, or one of their favorite games. So it's a different host every episode, though we will cycle back to some previous hosts, and each episode is a different game. No game is repeated, talking about why they love that game, from Fortnite to Kirby Superstar Saga to Donkey Kong Country and everything in between. So definitely check that out. And you can also find me streaming, twitch.tv/DJ_Stormageddon.
I was also on an episode of Side Quests.
You were. You did it about Skies of Arcadia.
5 solid minutes of me talking about Sky Pirates. Thank you to Red Spinks for our It's Okay to Be a Marshmallow t-shirt on Redbubble, featuring our fave marshmallow, Kaden Malenko. You can find more of their work at Chaos Does Art on Instagram. We'd also like to thank Case Aiken for developing more amazing shirt designs that you can find through certainpov.com or on Teespring. We'd like to thank David Boyle for designing our beautiful logo, which you can also get on a shirt through Redbubble. And lastly, thank you to Dan Bull for letting us use a Mass Effect rap for our theme music. I'm MJ.
And I'm Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
And I'm Kevin. We should go.
You're listening to Reignite. I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite podcast on the Citadel.
Hey there, my name's Abu Zafar, and I'm the creator of the Lore Party podcast. It's a show about our favorite video game universes and the stories they tell. What does that mean exactly? Well, we don't do game reviews or first impressions, and we don't talk about gameplay or the latest news in the gaming industry. Our main focus is with the lore, the stories, the characters, and the worlds that we jump into every time that we fire up our favorite games. If that sounds like your cup of tea, just search Lore Party on your favorite podcast platform and check out some of our episodes. Thanks for listening.
Hey there, Screen Beans. Have you heard about Screen Snark?
Rachel, this is an ad break. They aren't screen beans until they listen to the show.
Fine. Potential Screen Beans. You like movies and TV shows, right?
I mean, who doesn't? Screen Snark is a casual conversation about the movies and television shows that are shaping us as we live our everyday lives.
That's right, Matt. We have a chat with at least one incredible guest every episode, hailing from all walks. We've interviewed chefs,
writers, costumers, musicians,
yoga teachers, comedians, burlesque dancers,
folks in the film and TV industry,
and more.
We'd be delighted for you to join us every other Monday on the Certain POV Podcast Network.
Or wherever you get your podcasts, fresh and tasty off the presses.
What? That's not...
Can I call them Screen Beans now?
Fine.
Screen Beans! Zah.
So tune in and we'll see you at the movies or on a couch somewhere.
Because you're all screen beans now.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.